I'm Anna Shoub from the Hatjunkie in Lunenburg, Nova Scotia, and today is March 31st, and we are in the middle of a very strange time for humanity, and I'm not going to talk a lot about that because all you have to do is put the news on and you'll get all the information you want and know all about how it's affecting small businesses and of course the health of many people and large businesses alike. So anyways, that's enough of that. I am going to try to give you a little bit of hat relief. So here are the things that are on the video today, and some of you might want to see all of them, some of you might want to see some of them, so you can just skip ahead to the part you're interested in or listen to it all. So firstly, I will show you some news from the hat shop, the things that I have here made, and some of my plans for the future, maybe some new directions that I'd like to take. I also would like to show you a little bit of footage from a walk in Lunenburg. We are extremely lucky here in Nova Scotia that we have wide open spaces, and it's very easy to go for socially distanced walks and see all the life that there is in town, particularly if you look up, the birds are super busy, and if you look down you can start to see the crocuses coming out. So while times are tough for humans, other species are just having a great go of it right now. Probably glad that we're not around as much. Let's see, so I will take you on a little walk. I'm also going to show you some footage of what I have been doing in my studio and living room to keep sane, and that is that I am learning the Charleston. Some of you might know that I actually was a dancer in a former life, well, this incarnation, but many years ago. But I'm so out of shape. But I thought, you know, I've been extremely anxious because of the news, because of the world, because of how it's affecting my business and uncertainty, but I know that this really is the same for everybody, so complaining just isn't going to do me any good. So I do find, and it's interesting because what I want to go back to now is dancing. It not only, like, knitting will calm me down and take me out of my head space, and believe me, I'm knitting plenty, but dance actually changes how I feel. Like, after I have been dancing for, you know, half an hour, I actually feel happy until I turn the news on again, and I'm not so happy anymore. But yeah, so I'm going to show you some little practice sessions in my studio. I've been posting them on Instagram. Did I mention my website? I didn't. I meant to. My website is hatjunkie.com. You can find me there, and also my Instagram is @thehatjunkie. So yeah, I'm going to show you a little bit of my Charleston practices and hope you enjoy. There isn't music right now. I have been practicing with some music, and if you tune into my Instagram, you probably, when I get the courage to put up a video of me trying to keep up with that fast music, then you can see me there, or I'll post it back here. And lastly, for my knitting friends, I am going to show you all the things that I have been working on, and there are many. I think, like many people in the knitting world right now, we're just casting on a million projects, maybe because we're feeling scattered and insecure, but I don't know, you need one for when you just want mindless knitting, and one when you really want to focus, and I don't know, somehow there's a need for so much knitting. So I hope you'll join me. Thanks for coming in. Shop. One thing that I have a whole lot of are my organic jersey hats. I actually was working on a very large wholesale order, and that order got not exactly canceled, but sort of put off indefinitely, and I sort of just have to treat it like it just might not happen. So I have a lot, a lot of organic jersey hats in the shop right now, and of course I can always make more. And it's this fabric is organic cotton and hemp it's got 4% lycra, which gives it a little bit of stretch and holds on the head so beautifully. I do it in many different styles. This particular one is my Eloise hat, and I'm thinking that ladies might like this style right now, because it is wonderful for when you have, if you happen to color your hair, and if you've got gray roots coming in and there is no way to actually see a hairdresser, you might just want to have your hair covered right now for a little bit. Not that there's anything wrong with gray hair, I'm all about it, but just putting that out there. So yeah, this is Eloise, and here I'll quickly show you a red one. There's a red one, and I have a few more there, so many colors. You can just ask me if there's a specific color you have in mind. I just might have it. So there's Eloise, and this is a favorite. This is my Margaret, named after my beautiful 84-year-old neighbor across the street. And she's my suffragette, Edwardian style suffragette hat. I just somehow always imagined that the suffragettes would wear a beautiful, beautiful hat like this while either picnicking or protesting. So here, I'll show you what it looks like on. There. So you get quite a lot of sun protection, and it's packable for if you ever go anywhere again. You can also just look beautiful walking around the house or walking outside. And I actually think hats are a wonderful thing to wear right now. I mean, I always think that hats are a wonderful thing, but wouldn't it be nice if, you know, when it is strange to, you know, walk on the street. Lunenburg is such a social town. We always smile and greet each other. The only times that you see people that don't, you know, stop and say hello when you pass them, you know that they don't live around here. So it is just the norm here to smile, and it's hard to be standing on the other side of the street and chatting with people. So hats are a way of you know, extending your smile to the other side of the street. I think we need that right now. So that was the Margaret hat. Here's one that's all red, and I did actually get these ones up on my website. Here's a royal blue one. I think I can only do one royal blue. I don't think I've got enough for another one. And then I have this lovely soft gray with purple. It's sort of like, it's called claret. It's like a dusty purple. Then we have the Charlotte hat. So this one's actually one that I would personally wear a lot. So there we go. I have a little hat dance that I'll insert after that I did on one of my, I don't know, a week ago or so. So there's my Charlotte. There is one in kind of a soft, I call it sepia with a chocolate brown. Burgundy and gray. There's that lovely royal blue. This is a pretty one. There. And these ones have, you know, nice sun protection too. You can wear the brim down or flip it up. Gray and green. So there you go. There's Charlotte. Here's a new one. It's similar to the Eloise but different. It's called Clara. You can wear it in a lot of different ways. I've got a couple of these on my website. I was looking for hats that I could make with smaller pieces of fabric, just to try to use up everything that I have. So there's that. You can have it down, and I don't know, you could put folds in there, all kinds of things. If you're up for it, you can even wear it with the bow right in front. You could, if you've got the right kind of face for it, which is not really my style, you could actually put it up higher, have the bow up here, and, you know, tuck your hair in. So it's a fun little hat, also great for just covering up your hair on a bad hair day. Let's see, what else do I have to show you? Oh, a couple of straw hats. This one I think I showed you on my last blog. This is one of my garden hats, and I did a fun thing here. It's got I made these ties to keep it on, but here I'll show you. This is a vintage spool, and so that's my little pulley. I forgot about my Maisie hat. I've got a couple of these. Sometimes I design hats and then I forget about them. So yeah. Let me show you this hat right here. I'm particularly proud of this one. This is a straw boater, and it's a very rustic, I made it on my antique straw braid sewing machine, and this braid is a very kind of rustic braid. I don't know if you can see the detail there, and it's quite hard to sew. Actually, I had this for over a year, and I just couldn't figure out how to sew it without it just, you know, the thread breaking, and there was no way. But I eventually discovered that if I soak the straw in the bucket of my tears or water, that it softens up enough and to sew it. So that is what I did. But look at those beautiful flowers. They are, I'm calling them zinnias. You would hardly believe it, but each little poof ball flower takes me an hour to make. There is so much cutting, but not that I mind. I'm like, just embrace my inner kindergartner, and I just cut. I'm so happy. I could do it all day. But I think it's the prettiest little flower spray, and it comes, this particular hat will fit, it's like a 23 to 23.5 inch head size, so a little on the larger side. So if you'd like this hat, it's up on my website, and if your head size fits that bill, it could be yours. It comes from this book, which I guess you're going to see the backwards lettering. It's Decorative Stitches and Trimmings from the Women's Institute of Domestic Sciences in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and it was published in 1929. Look at that amazing bound book. I'll show you. It's really just so beautiful. My sister-in-law Amy, who always manages to get me, find me presents that it's like she enters my brain. Isn't that gorgeous? Anyways, this book has been an endless source of inspiration for me. Look, there it is. There's the little flower. So it's very exciting for me to take, they're called asters in the book, and I suppose if you made them in that purple and maybe a bit smaller, they really would look like asters, but my friend Sally pointed out that they actually look like zinnias, and I love zinnias, so that's what I'm calling them. Anyways, that's what I've been doing, and I would actually love to do the flowers from this hat and put them on this hat. One of the things that I really want to concentrate on now, that there is no more economy. Excuse my black humor. My mind is constantly reeling, going, what do people need? And one of the things I think we will all always need is really good sun protection, and this hat is just amazing that way. I do it without any flowers, but I think you know, we might just all be growing more food and working in our gardens, and why not invest in a way to keep your skin safe? So that's where my mind's going these days. So that's one thing. So I'd like to put these flowers on there. And the other thing I would like to do, because as I sew and cut fabric, I end up with an enormous amount of scrap, and I never throw it out, but sometimes it's hard to walk in here because of it. I try to use it, but I'm thinking of writing out a tutorial for making these flowers and making a kit. So please do let me know if that's something you're interested in. I'll try to keep the price very reasonable, and you know, I can make up a sweet little kit of various colors of fabric to send to you with instructions and template for making the flowers. All you need is patience. It's actually not a lot of skill. It's just, you need a little pair of scissors. So yeah, that's what I've got planned for the hat future, and I think that is all I wanted to talk to you about today in Hatland. And here's a little hat dance video. Hope you enjoy. course, I don't know why I didn't think of it earlier. Every Charleston practice has to happen with my new Clara hat on. So much better with this hat on. Look at that. It just inspires the step. Okay, let's talk about knitting. Thank you so much if you persevered through all my other crafty endeavors to get here. Before I forget, if you like this video, please click like and subscribe, even better, and share, please. As is the case with many small businesses, online has always been a portion of my sales, maybe 25%, and now it has to be 100, and that is going to require a substantial effort on my part. And also, if you guys can help me out by sharing it on your social media, send it in an email, it will be so much appreciated. Okay. Let's talk about knitting. Anybody that I mention, any designer, I'll put the link on my blog on www.hatjunkie.com. Okay, so I'll start with finished objects. This one I made a very long time ago. This shawl is by Tetbesh or Lane Souche, I believe. And I don't remember the name of it offhand, but it is from Amory Soup magazine. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I really want to talk about is this sweater right here, which is I would call it an adaptation. I couldn't really call it a modification anymore. It's an adaptation of the Soiree sweater by Emily Foden from the Knits About Winter book. And Knits About Winter is just such a beautiful book. Emily is a Canadian designer and a hand dyer of yarn, and she lives in Ontario in Canada, and her Soiree sweater is very beautiful, but completely different than this. But what I was really drawn to was this cable pattern. They're just so soft and drapey, with these twisted stitches in between, and then this pretty little seed stitch detail over here. So in her sweater, the cables are on either side, up the sides, and it's a dropped shoulder sweater. So the cable actually runs all the way on the inside of the arm, and it's and she's got a rolled hem, and then a rolled hem over here and on the sleeves, and pretty little detail on the neck. Anyways, it's very beautiful. I don't know if I would look good in a dropped shoulder. It intimidates me, but I started to knit it that way, and I wanted it extra long, and then at some point I just put it on a wire and put it on, and it really looked horrible on me. Not the designer's fault at all. It was just these cables on the side were like sort of giving. I've made sort of loose fitting, unshaped sweaters before, but and I love them. But somehow with this cable over here on me and the way my body is shaped, it wasn't doing me any favors. It was just really making me particularly shapeless. So I was actually ready to rip, which was a bit heartbreaking, but I'm used to this from myself already. But then I just took the sweater and twisted it this way, and I thought, oh, it would be really beautiful with the cable pattern in the front and the back, and I could turn it into a raglan, which I know suits me. So I cut off the bottom because I was trying that rolled hem, and I realized I am a complete control freak when it comes to what my knitting is doing, and that uncontrolled rolling of the hem I just couldn't handle it. So I I cut off the bottom because it was knit bottom up, and then I knit down and added just a 2x2 ribbing. And here, I'll show you the back as well. So cables on the front and the back, and I've got the 2x2 ribbing on the neckline in here. And what I did for the raglan was I just put that pretty seed stitch detail in between the raglan decreases. And I know, I imagine some of you out there are saying, I could never do this, that's impossible. It is so possible for most people with a little bit of knitting experience. It's just getting past the fear of basic math. If you've knit a raglan sweater before, it's such a simple formula, and I guess Elizabeth Zimmerman's book has a basic percentages formula. Anyways, there's so many, just, look into it a little bit. I'm not sure where to send you right now. I don't want to get too bogged down in it, but figuring out little things like that, it's just not that hard if you understand that all raglans have the same basic formula, the rate of decrease, and you just need to know how deep you want your yoke. And it's all about row gauge. You just row gauge and stitch gauge, but row gauge in particular for things like a yoke. Anyways, I won't talk too much about that now, but it's doable, and it's very empowering and fun to just make something the way you want to make it. So yeah, there's my pretty soiree adaptation by Emily Foden from Knits About Winter. Okay, the other thing I want to talk about, I have to go get. So, we all have that shame project, maybe that we've been working on for several years and somehow just can't seem to finish it. This one is mine. I absolutely adore it. It's the pattern is called From Grandma with Love by Melanie Berg, and it's just squares that are then all attached to each other. And the pattern, the way that Melanie designed it, and in a way I kind of wish I had done that way, although I love the all brown, is very colorful. So she's got all different colors here, and then the garter border is all one color. So every colorful square is outlined by the same color and anyways, it's beautiful. But so far I have 8 squares attached, and it's quite big, and I have now made 4 more squares, and I need to block those and attach them. And this has actually been a perfect project to be doing right now. I find well, for one, I have all the time in the world. So yeah, the good time to work on a blanket or something that takes a really long time. And it's I find each square very rhythmic and meditative. It starts from the center, and it's knit in the round. So you start on 4 DPNs, and then you're knitting in the round and increasing on every corner. So you could actually put anything in between. In this case, it's this pretty lace pattern of diamonds, but you could put any lace pattern in there. Yeah, there's something about the way it just grows out like that I find hypnotic. So it's not that the pattern bores me at all. It's just that sometimes you finish one and you feel like, okay, I finished. And you just don't feel, it's like second sock syndrome. You just don't feel that motivation to go on. But lately I have felt the motivation. So there's 4 more squares coming up with that. And this is so warm. This is, I held together 1 strand of single ply custom woolen mills, and a friend gave me a whole bunch of alpaca. So I'm holding those two together, and yeah, my husband loves it. He's always got it wrapped around himself, and I figure, you know what, just use it as it grows, and it'll just get bigger and bigger. It's actually for my son. I thought I was going to give it to him 2 years ago, but I think I'll give it to him when he goes off to university. So there's the From Grandma with Love blanket that I'm working on. So here is another actual finished object. This I made for Dustin, my son, partly out of a sense of guilt of not having actually finished his blanket in so long, and I'm always more motivated to finish a garment. So this is the Oa sweater, the Oa hoodie by Kate Davies, and I used Illimani baby llama, and it's amazing. It's so soft. I'll show you the book it's from. You can buy the pattern as an individual pattern on Ravelry, but it's from this book and inspired by Eile. Eile, I think it's pronounced Eile. That's the original, how Kate Davies designed it. I love this pattern. I love it so much I knit it twice. Not really, but I actually got like all the way up to here and realized my gauge was totally off and it wasn't going to fit. I haven't ripped it back. It's actually sitting there, and I switched yarns to a heavier yarn that was fingering weight yarn. That was really painful. But the pattern is so hypnotic. It's the most intuitive color work pattern. Like after you've been doing it for a while, you really know what's coming next. So it's not something where you always have to be thinking. You just get good at like looking at what's happening underneath, and I would not shy away from this pattern if you think, you know, color work it looks scary. It's not that scary. If I were to do it again, I would change these decreases. I find there's a little bit of this gap that happens in between, and I think I could find a workaround. It is actually a little bit short on my son, so I'm going to eventually undo the cuffs and undo the bottom and knit down. And yeah, I can do that, right? Okay. I have to think about that. Yeah, because the bottom was, it started with a provisional cast on, so otherwise, because it's bottom up, I wouldn't be able to, but I'm just going to undo that cast on and then knit down, but I have to wait for my yarn shop to be open again in order to get that yarn to fix that, and that's my excuse. So it does fit me though. It fits me really well, but yeah, I can't talk about that. So I do love it. I just maybe on you know, seeing it on him white on an almost 16-year-old boy, cream is not the best choice. I just was swept away by my love of the colors, but I can see a couple of little, I don't know, it's probably ketchup or something. And I'm not too worried about it, but yeah, I wouldn't do that again. I would, you know, maybe pick something that blends in with dirt for a teenage boy. So yeah, there's my Oa hoodie. Let's see. Is that it for finished objects? That might be. So, works in progress. This is, oh no, wait, I have one more finished object. I think I'm going to have to stand on this chair. Can you see? made those socks. Maybe I'll insert a picture. We'll see how that goes. Editing takes a long time. So the socks I just designed myself. I do love to do that with socks and many things, because it's just it's a way of experimenting and finding new stitch patterns. So here are a couple of the books that I use all the time. So a lot of you probably know this book, Japanese Knitting Stitch Bible by Hitomi Shida. And it's just filled with all these beautiful, beautiful patterns. It takes a while to learn how to translate the charts, because they have different symbols than are used in North American knitting charts, but it's all, it's just about going to the beginning and then looking up the reference of what each symbol means. And in the case of these socks, it was actually so confusing to understand the symbols. I think if you're Japanese, it would make complete sense, because your brain would be trained to I'm assuming it has something to do with the symbols of the alphabet, or this, I don't know. I'm not sure how to say it, except that I think visually, maybe growing up in that culture would help you understand the symbols better. But for me, like, there's a symbol that will look like a fish, and then it'll have a little curve underneath, and that's fine. But then if you don't pay attention, you'll see that, oh, but there's a little fish that has a curve underneath and another tiny little half curve next to it, and that means something different. So what I did was I actually made myself a little chart, which I'm sure looks crazy anyways, but for me, each cable actually means what I'm drawing to over to the left, and this one's a purl, and that's a knit through the back loop. Anyways, I'm rambling, but this is such a wonderful book, and if you are an adventurous knitter, I couldn't recommend it enough. It isn't that hard to learn this. It just takes patience, and you can put these patterns in anything. I made a red sweater and made the yoke out of one of these beautiful patterns, and I'll show you the one I'm going to do next. I'm going to put it in socks. I just love this one. It's, yeah, that one right there. I think those would make the most beautiful pair of socks. And I know you're probably laughing at me, but that is actually not a hard lace pattern. It doesn't have many fancy moves at all. It's mostly SSKs and knit two together and yarn overs, and there's one little knot stitch every 15 rows. So it's I think it's simpler than it looks, and I can't wait to do that one. So that's next. The other book that I use all the time is a Treasury of Knitting Patterns by Barbara G. Walker. It's just got, it just looks like this, little black and white pictures, and nothing is charted. It's all written out, so sometimes I'll make a little chart. But I find it so fun to take this little black and white picture and then turn it into something 3D and see what it looks like. So if you have any interest in designing, and really at this point I'm just knitting, designing for myself. I did do one pattern, which is on Ravelry. It's the Good Gossip hat, and my Ravelry is Hatjunkie. And I love this hat so much. In fact, I have it here somewhere. Here it is. I'll put it on. It's based on an illustration by Virginia Lee Demetrios. from the, she died in 1968, the year I was born. And what I learned from actually writing out this little pattern is it is so much work to write out a pattern. And not that I don't enjoy it, but it's also actually a financial investment because you're investing in the yarn. And then if you have it tech edited, which I did, you're investing in that. And then it's a hard thing to sell a pattern because there are so many patterns out there. So, not complaining, just saying that as much as I'd love to write up some of these patterns, at this point, because I'm really a nobody in the knitting world, I know I could spend like a week's work and you know, not even make back the money I spend on tech editing. So we'll see. You know, maybe little by little. I always want to, and you know, maybe I will one day. So yeah, that's that. So what is next? Is there anything else? Yes, what I'm working on. So the next sweater that I'm making is Kate Davies' Paper Dolls sweater. And I keep dropping the stitches off this needle. There we go. And this is, I'm making it with Mondim yarn, which is technically a sock yarn without nylon, but it's really just a fingering weight yarn, and I love this yellow. I got it at the Knitting Loft in Toronto, and then the bottom is a 1x1 rib with this beautiful pink. And then the little paper dolls, I'm going to use this blue, which I have left over from a pair of socks that I got at the Mariner's Daughter in Lunenburg. So yeah, that's that. And then lastly, I am trying to make sense of this hand-dyed yarn. Oh, by the way, if you like this bag is made from, it's from recycled conveyor belts, and my friend Danette Eden of the Lunenburg Bag Company makes these bags and so many other wonderful bags from recycled sales. So I'll try to put a link to her website up. This is like this gorgeous skein of yarn from fleece artist Handmaiden, and I bought it about 2 years ago. I was just so taken by the colors, but I actually have a hard time knitting with hand-dyed yarns. I guess it's because it's that control freak thing again. I'm not in control of how the colors are coming together, so I find often that not so much with like a subtly hand-dyed, but when it's, you know, really like a painting, I'm so enamored with how the skein looks, but then I get sort of mad at the actual knitting. So I kind of like it, and I'll have to, you know, block this to see how it will really look, but you know, I sort of stare at it alternately thinking it's super cool, and then also wanting to rip it out, which is very much like me. But we'll see. I know that it's hard to see lace patterns when you're using hand-dyed yarns, but I also like them. I also like lace patterns and hand-dyed yarns. So we'll see after I block it. I think I'll go through with it because I can't keep looking at this one skein of yarn and feeling guilty about buying it, so I think I'll use it. Let's see, next. All right, hold on 1 second. So a few future knitting that I haven't yet begun is that I am trying at this time, partly because I cannot buy yarn right now. Things are a little too up in the air financially. And it's not like I don't have yarn. I think I could actually easily get through this pandemic, no matter how long it lasts, with the yarn that I have, which is crazy. But so here's something that I bought over a year ago. Almost embarrassing. This whole bag is filled with mostly McCausland yarn from McCausland Woolen Mills in Prince Edward Island. So it's very, very rustic yarn, and I was dyeing some of it. I dyed that with madder root, and some of the colors are they're just beautiful. Like, look at that blue. It's a worsted weight yarn. I wish I had more of one single color. Like, I really, really like the gray. But it's not a fine yarn by any stretch of the imagination. But it's just wool. It's just like no nonsense wool. And I've been thinking about making myself a gardening sweater and just trying to use up all of that. It would probably be a cardigan and something really like tough wearing that I can just wear when I go out in the garden, with big pockets for seeds and stuff like that. So that is one project that I want to do. I think I'll just play with swatching and see what stitch patterns I want to put in there and have fun with it. Yeah, so mostly I'm trying to dive into my stash and see what I can, it's just a challenge, see what I can come up with. And not that I don't miss buying yarn, I really, really miss it. It's probably only been a few weeks. But soon I will buy more yarn, but we'll get through this. And I guess the very last knitting thing is the hat I'm wearing, in case I haven't shown you before. This I did make, and I do sell these hats. It's hand knit from Custom Woolen Mills, and then felted. I wet felted after, and then I wet felt all these little flowers. So it's there's some available on my website. They're all one of a kind. So that's it from the knitting world. So thanks for joining me. See you soon. Bye. I'm going to leave you with a little footage that I took last August in the Annapolis Valley. It's summertime in its glory, and I just think we need to see that summer's coming, things will bloom, and the little video ends with the fog lifting. It was quite amazing to just sit and watch the fog lifting. You couldn't even see anything when I started to take that video, just gray, and then slowly it just lifted and revealed a beautiful little village below. So I hope you enjoy, and thank you so much for spending some time with me. Bye.